Good day, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's edition of the Client Enrichment Series. My name is James Patopoulos, and I'm a strategist in the Public Building Service Office of Client Strategy. But more importantly, I am your host for today's session, Workplace in an Evolving Environment. We have four PBS subject matter experts from our Office of Engineering with us today, so let's take a moment to meet them. Today, we'll be hearing from Jonna Larson. She currently serves as the Deputy Assistant Commissioner to our Chief Architect in the PBS Office of Engineering. She has more than 20 years of experience with GSA, which started with managing special projects in our former Rocky Mountain region. Jonna has focused on workplace and workplace design throughout her GSA career, including spending time as a regional workplace executive, director of our federal co-working and space match programs, and as part of our Workplace 2020 and Mobility Program initiatives. Sam Chaffee is the Chief of Workplace Planning Strategist Branch in the PBS Office of Engineering. A workplace strategist herself, she started with GSA as an interior designer over 15 years and evolved from furniture and finishes specifications to workplace projects, assisting GSA in piloting mobility and testing new workplace concepts internally. Brian Dorfler is the Chief of Interior Design, Programming, and Plans Branch in the PBS Office of Engineering. He has an extensive history of collaborating with federal agencies to identify workplace arrangements that support employee workplace practices and achieve mission goals. In addition to his current role, Ryan has been program manager of several iterations of GSA's Workplace Innovation Lab. Lisa Lefkowitz is also in PBS Office of Engineering and serves as branch chief of the Workplace Innovation Team, where she leads a portfolio of high-impact special programs that shape workplace solutions across the nation. With over 15 years of experience at GSA, Lisa has built deep expertise in the workplace arena. She brings a strong background in leadership, program management, organizational development, and has successfully spearheaded national initiatives, including federal and commercial co-working programs. Lisa holds a Bachelor of Science in Marketing Management from Virginia Tech. She is also a recognized leader known for driving innovation, fostering collaboration, and advancing excellence in public service. Before we begin, I'd like to share a few housekeeping instructions. We have automatically muted your audio to help us control the sound quality of the presentation. There is a chat pod as well as a Q&A pod. For this session, please use that chat pod for any administrative issues you're experiencing, and one of our CES team members can assist you. We ask that you use the Q&A pod to ask your portfolio and space planning questions. We have a team of subject matter experts with us today to answer any questions you have during the presentation. Any questions that we are unable to get to today will be noted, and all questions will be answered and posted at gsa.gov/CES. With that out of the way, I'm pleased to turn it over to the team to begin today's presentation.
Thanks, James. Appreciate the intro. I do have one correction, though, because I was listening to your intro and it said I've been here for 20 years, and it's actually since the 1990s. So I think the math is not exactly mathing on that, but we'll get to that later. Not something maybe I want to bring up. Next slide. All right. One of the challenges I think with the Zoom platform is it kind of seems like you're presenting to yourself. I don't see all of you out there, but I know that you're there given your chat, and I saw so many familiar names. So good to see friends and agency partners out there. Again, very honored to be the second series or participant after the short pause in the series. But I see a lot of new names too, and looking forward to working with you guys in the future as well. So welcome, everyone. We'll start actually this session just with maybe a little get to know you question. It's always good to see the level of experience that we have on the call so we can tailor our presentation to it. So if you don't mind and indulge me, if Casa, can you bring up the poll? If you don't mind answering the poll question, see what the results are there. As we're waiting for those results to come in, I'll just say a little bit about no matter how much time that you've been here. And I can tell you since the 1990s, the workplace has changed quite a bit from coming into Denver, Colorado's office, where I work still today. We've seen a lot of change in our workplace, the way we work, and how we work in teams and together. I think that's the major focus of workplace is to what doesn't change, which is short timelines, tight budgets, and really the mission and the people that work in our organizations that we have to serve. Um, that all still is a driver, even when we experience this change. Are the results in for the poll yet? I don't see them on my screen, so we'll see if Casa. Oh, there we go. Great. So quite a few people still here 10 plus years, probably even some longer than that. We didn't give another option for that. And then a few people now that less than 1 year. Welcome to federal government and federal facilities. Glad to see you're here. Again, if you are still new, this last year you've experienced significant change already. So I think you are now well versed in how to adapt your workplace to the needs of the agency and all of the policies and the guidelines that we have coming in on us. So today, you can go ahead to the next slide. We're going to focus in on how workplace can actually help you adapt to those changes and the drivers, and always keep in mind the end result that we're trying to build places that people want to work in, and that will help your agencies deliver the mission to the taxpayer. So our workplace division is now centralized. We're all in one location, or we serve out of one location instead of regionally. We have three different branches to help us deliver our services. The workplace strategy branch, besides just strategy, they are basically the planning side of workplace. So if you think of long-term planning, we also help with the use it data and making sure that you're right-sized. And how do we basically take into consideration all the needs of your workforce in the planning side of the workplace strategy. Now, no matter how well you plan, it takes courage and perseverance to deliver whatever those plans are. And we have a group, Interior Design, which is really focused on creating the design and delivering the product that you have intended. So that is a separate group. And then one last group, which is innovation, which workplace we would not be able to move forward in what we do and deliver to you without looking to the future, really looking at the needs of your teams and trying to create products and tools that help you innovate and do your jobs better and easier. All right, so next slide. Just to begin, we'll have Sam Chaffee. You already met her in the introductions, but she's going to talk about the strategy branch and what's workplace now. What tools do we have available to you for use right now? I'm going to turn it over to Ryan Dorfler, who is interior design. So he's the delivery side of the house. And then lastly, Lisa Lefkowitz, and she's going to focus in, even though she runs the innovation team, we're going to focus on shared workplaces today. And then we're going to talk a little bit about what's next for workplace and what you can expect to see in another series. Okay, next slide. With that, Sam, welcome to the world of workplace. Take it away.
Thanks, Jana. Nice to see some familiar faces and some new ones as well. Next slide. What is workplace? This may be old news to those of you who've been around a while and have worked with us before, but for those of you who are newer to the world of workplace, it's about so much more than just where we work. It's how the work is done, it's what the mission needs, and it's about the people doing the work. Next slide. Knowing how the work is done, who's doing it, and what they need can help us minimize risks by planning more effectively, achieve better project outcomes, reduce long-term costs, and better support the mission. It benefits projects to do this work early on. Next slide. Our team is involved early on, sometimes even before a project is in a twinkle in anyone's eye. We're the what if team, and we're here to help influence at all stages and phases of the project. We work really closely with GSA's client strategy team to help identify needs and develop solutions for your agency. We're involved pre-requirements development to influence portfolio changes. We're at the requirements development stage to better inform specific project outcomes. And we're also there to help finalize strategic requirements to make sure we're meeting occupancy goals. Next slide. So now that we have a good understanding of what Workplace is, let's look at how we're applying it now. Next slide. Like Jana mentioned, there's many factors these days influencing the needs of agency workspaces and places, including RTO mandates, changing headcounts, shifting priorities, occupancy measurement, use it, and an emphasis on shared resources. This is a lot of new information that can make planning seem challenging and feel hard in the environment we're in. But next slide. These are kind of the same themes if we take a step back. We've always dealt with fluid, changing levels of mobility, changing HR needs and environments, evolving technology. Each year it moves faster and faster. Planning for well-utilized spaces has always been a goal for ours, as well as reducing real estate. So we're still dealing with the same challenges, just with different lenses these days. Next slide, please. We've been doing this a while, and we have a variety of tools to help support workplace planning. We're refining these tools and offerings to meet the needs of our current and future environments. These tools range from really early back of napkin stage to refining requirements, such as the occupancy goalpost calculator and our programming tool. Our workplace engagements continue to provide meaningful discovery work, and our new fast track design standards offering will help simplify the programming process and transition into design much more efficiently. And I'll go over each of these in the next few slides. The occupancy goalpost calculator is just that. It shows the minimum and maximum occupancy based on administrative office space needs. By inputting your head count, we can also quickly gauge if the 150 UR is being met. And by inputting the average occupancy information, we can determine if the use it occupancy requirement of 60% is going to be met. In this example, you can see that they are meeting the 60% requirement, but not the 150 UR. And we can work with you to help refine these requirements to ensure success. Our next tool is the programming tool. This is a little behind the curtain. This is used by our workplace strategy team to help refine or develop new space requirements. We can use this either for individual agencies or in multi-tenant shared resource environments. GSA's new app sheet or intake process gives us some really high-level pieces of information that we can start to drop into this tool and start to make some generalizations about workplace requirements. In this tool, we're also planning for occupancy and not just the number of people assigned. I'm sure many of you are kind of stuck in that dichotomy. If we have this many people assigned who get 150 usable square feet per person, we have this many coming in. Somewhere in there is a number that's going to start working for meeting both your mission needs as well as the requirements of use it legislation. The next slide shows us just more screenshots of this tool. Again, this is something our team uses to help develop requirements, but it gives us recommended ratios and sizes of standard support spaces, things like conference rooms, huddle rooms, different resources that support typical administrative office spaces. We're also able to add special spaces, which would be excluded from the 150 UR and agency reported occupancy numbers. So we can start to better organize and compartmentalize what counts, what's not counting, and how it would influence your program. We can oftentimes maximize a space budget by leaning on the use of shared work points, shared support spaces, and better refining these special spaces to closer meet the requirements that we're asked to meet. The next slide shows us the summary sheet. We can start to see the breakdown of the space budget, if you will, by space type. For example, an agency may decide to use less offices and rely more on workstations, so they can program more collaborative spaces within that budget. This tool gives recommendations, but we can ultimately edit and craft it and tailor it to meet your specific agency needs. This summary also shows back one slide, Kathy, thank you. The summary also shows the planning headcount, how it was scaled, not just those assigned, but also reflecting those who are using the space and those occupancy numbers. Next slide, please. The programming tool has a special section, which I'm really excited about, which shows the projected compliance with Use It and M2525. We can see the maximum USF allowable, which is 150 times the number of people assigned. These calculations also exclude that special space. So we're still capturing as part of the space program, but as we're looking at use it compliance, we're making sure we're excluding spaces that shouldn't be counted towards that number. At this point, our goal is to have concurrence and iterative process, refine this, further define this. It's an iterative back and forth process. We'll work closely with our client strategy partners, with customer agencies, facilities rep like yourselves, to make sure that we're meeting the agency mission and adhering to all of our policy requirements. Next slide, please. Our workplace engagements are another tool of ours. They're like an anthropological, methodological approach to discovering and developing requirements. This can be either project specific or applied to an entire portfolio for planning, as well as being used to develop national design standards. We can leverage our in-house expertise as well as partnering with qualified interior design firms to tailor the results that you need. We're also making updates to the Fast Track program, which might be familiar to some of you. It's now going to include a more modular design kit of parts, which can quickly transition from that programming tool I shared into the design phase. This will be a great way to expedite our project processes without sacrificing design outcomes. We're looking forward to rolling this out later this year, so please keep an eye out for the new Fast Track Design Standards offering. Next slide, thank you. There's a lot to consider when planning a workplace project, but it's important to keep in mind the opportunity to influence outcomes, unique opportunities to engage with employees and your stakeholders, better meet the mission through our workspaces, and set ourselves up for success as we transition from planning to implementation. And with that, I'll hand it back to Jana.
Thank you, Sam. Appreciate that. And again, there's so much that goes into the planning part of how we do our projects here. But again, a lot of that hasn't changed. We have timelines, budget constraints, and of course, efficiency and effectiveness of the space that we want to pay attention to. We also want to design for the people and make it a place that they want to come work in. I think that takes not only planning, but it does take a bit of courage and a lot of willingness to adapt when you get into the delivery side of the project itself, which is where Ryan and his team come in with design and delivery. Ryan, you want to talk a little bit about your group?
Yes, thank you, Jana. Again, Ryan Dorfler, branch chief with the interior design branch. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. I believe we have another poll for Casa to bring up. And essentially, how frequently does your organization use GSA's interior design services, including furniture? If you don't know on behalf of your organization, please go ahead and answer for yourself. And while the poll answers are coming in, I'm going to just do a quick shout out for the CES hosts. Go ahead and put any questions you have in the Q&A panel in your Zoom interface. And it looks like we do have a couple questions coming in, which is fantastic. I believe we're going to get to some of those at the end of the session. And then Casa, how are we doing on those results? We have an all the time, often, sometimes, and never, and we have some nevers. We have some which I see as opportunities, expanding opportunities for us to provide additional services, sometimes, often, and all the time. A little bit of everything. I love it. Let's go ahead and go on to the next slide. What I'm going to be talking about in the next couple slides is the interior design services that GSA provides or can provide your agency, either for an individual project, a particular project at a specific location, or even nationally as you're looking at your design guidelines or as far as space planning guidelines, and you know what, another set of eyes on it. What I'm going to be using as an example, you'll see some images here and in the next slide as well, is from our Workplace Innovation Lab. You may have heard past presentations. I might have given one before about the Workplace Innovation Lab, also called the WIL. It's gone through some changes. The latest version is in our Wing 7200 of our headquarters building at 1800F in Washington, D.C. And you see some of the aspects here of what makes things to consider when taking that vision that was created in the workplace strategy group with Sam's group or with the client strategist or early on in the requirements development stage, and taking those numbers, taking those plans and making them real. There's other considerations, of course, that go into it. I almost wish the adaptability box on the bottom right was on the top left, because that's really a big one, especially now, if we think about how headcount has changed, organizational sizes have changed, locations are changing, lots of variables to consider. And it's important in the workplace design that it adapts in as much of a seamless way as possibly can. In this instance, what you see on the bottom right, we'll bounce a bit on this slide, is an instance of the Workplace Innovation Lab. We explore each of these topics a lot further. Adaptability, we looked at different ways how the furniture could be repurposed from both the training standpoint, of ad hoc training sessions, or as individual workspaces as well. Jumping back up to the top left, when it comes to lighting, lighting is certainly important, both not just as far as the lighting fixtures that are installed and the types of lighting, but also to the maximum extent can we, or to the extent that we can maximize the natural light coming in, and taking into account things such as circadian rhythms and that kind of thing. Acoustics is going to be what I feel is going to be increasingly a consideration when it comes to future workplace planning and design, in that as agencies or your organizations look at consolidations, increasing occupancies levels, maybe even looking at densifications, what are the strategies that you can employ to help mitigate any of the adverse impacts associated with acoustics? What you see here, sound masking is certainly one of those, or white noise technology, but another one could also be acoustic panels. You see there on the right or in the center top, is that we put into the one wall in the Workplace Innovation Lab, which without it would have been just one long run of a solid surface for noise to bounce off of and increase those adverse impacts I just mentioned. Biophilic design, bringing in greenery into the spaces to improve the well-being of the occupants that are there, hopefully spurring creativity also at the same time. You see there an example of a moss that doesn't need to be watered, doesn't attract bugs, that's there connected with tiling on top of a backsplash, and there's a sink there on the very bottom there, in the very back of the counter space. Color psychology and privacy are also things that we always consider as well. It's like when we get into those discussions with you on the interior design and we start thinking about finishes, how do you want the space in the workplace to feel once it's all said and done and you and your colleagues are working there? Do you want it more homey, more like a library type of setting, or something a little bit more vibrant? In the Will's instance, we went down the former approach. And then privacy, the question that we come into, and I think there was a question in the Q&A about PII, and which tends to go down that privacy topic, is, are we talking acoustic privacy? Or are we talking visual privacy? In this instance, in the Will, what we used was more like soft meeting rooms that focused more on the visual privacy aspect of it. And those panels actually slide, open and close, depending on the needs. And you can rearrange the furniture, again, getting back to the flexibility of the space. So this is just an example of, and we do this for all the projects that we work on, is work with our clients to talk through and explore which of these aspects of others that we want to make sure is considered in that workplace at that location. Next slide, please. The steps that we do that is working our ways from the very beginning when it comes to requirements development and working with workplace strategists or the client strategist. As far as when we get those requirements, it's like, okay, let's get into the design concepts of vision and increasingly define that vision, getting into the details of how we can make it real for you, going through schematic design, design development. What you see there on the right on the slide is one aspect of design, again, for Will 7200. On the top right, you see a rendering that was created as part of, we were testing a virtual 3D walkthrough of the Will to explore, and this is the rendering that came out of it. And the colors were so true that you can see how closely aligns with the actual space, which you see there on the bottom right, versus the reality. as you use our services, and we provide those interior design services, which includes furniture plans, furniture design, going through FAS, the furniture acquisition service, or through PBS, our own acquisition personnel to get that furniture, fixtures, and equipment for you. We can take care of all that for you. Increasingly, what we can do is in our service set, which combined with workplace strategy also, basically the entire workplace group, is really look at, once that workplace has been created, how well is it performing? Increasingly, what we're finding as when we look at consolidation and new projects and those kinds of things, once everyone says, we want to know how it works. And I'm sure you do as well. And if you have your own design firms or you're doing a design approach and you want some assistance looking at post-occupancy evaluations for specific projects and learn from that to inform maybe your national design standards, that's something that we can help you out as well. Last and final slide for me, and then I'll turn it over back to Jonna, is how we do that. We're taking a different approach. In our previous organization, interior designers, projects came in and interior designers worked on them for all the services that I just mentioned and all the considerations I mentioned right before that. We're taking a different approach because we recognize that many of you, pretty much many federal agencies, are going through lots of changes previously and in the future. And we thought it was important for our interior designers to be increasingly client focused. So for any agency, whatever agency you're from, at the headquarters national level, you will have an interior designer that essentially works with you. Interior designers have their own client portfolio. They'll work with you, either individually lead furniture design projects or act as like an executive sponsor leader as others are working on that project. What's nice about that is you have one person you can go to who's going to know your standards, who's going to know increasingly specialize it, particularly if you have specialties like labs, or if you're dealing with outpatient clinics or SCIFs or law enforcement space. That interior designer will specialize in that. What they're also going to do is, as they work on or provide consultation on those more tactical individual projects that are being executed, they can get that insights back to you at the headquarters level and say, these are the things that we're seeing and our recommendations on improving your design, modifying how the furniture is delivered as far as the procurement aspect of it. Are there ways of further streamlining or simplifying the requirements to execution process? And then what it's also nice is many of these interior designers focus on a particular segment of client agencies, such as law enforcement, or maybe a couple of them do, which allows them to sort of, as it says, they cross-pollinate ideas and hopefully expand some of the design considerations that you are thinking about. So that's what the interior design, we like to think of ourselves more of as studio than a branch, because that's our mindset. And I hope you all take advantage of our service. And so with that, I think that's my last slide. I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Jonna. All right.
Great, thanks, Ryan. And just to be clear, all of these services are available to you now. So if you are interested, please reach out to Ryan, but we'll give you a mailbox you can contact after the presentation too. So last but not least, Lisa is on board to talk about the innovation team. Mr. Gardner, I did see your question about shared space. It has become a hot topic over the last year and even before then. So we've been exploring shared space opportunities for many, many years in GSA. I want to be clear, this is not Lisa's only gig. We also have quite a few contracts that fall within her division that help you with the delivery side of your projects. And she also curates special programs too, which you'll be hearing about in the future. But right now, just her focus today will be on what's available today in shared workplaces. Lisa, over to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Jonna. And we'll bring it home here with a fun topic. So like Jonna mentioned, shared space is not new for GSA. Actually, we can go to the next slide. Sorry. Thank you. So yeah, like I was saying, shared space is not new to GSA. We've been facilitating shared space now for several years. we've always been an advocate that shared space is just a smart way of doing business and tends to be quite a big cost savings for both agencies and the taxpayer. So shared space, again, a great option for agencies. This means it's allowing for 2 or more agencies to occupy space within the same building. One of the big details about shared space is that it does depend on agencies identifying supply opportunities. So this can range from fully shared spaces to separate work areas. And again, we're always working with the agency on their specific operational controls when necessary. So one of the solutions that folks are maybe familiar with on the call is our Space Match program. We also are going to talk about our commercial co-working as well. So our commercial co-working and Space Match, those are programs that definitely focus on more of a smaller need. So usually it's less than 20 seats. If you have a greater need for more than 20 folks, that's going to be a separate, you know, kind of like your standard run-of-the-mill project intake. So today we're going to talk about just kind of Space Match and commercial co-working, again, for sort of those more smart, smaller targeted needs. So space sharing options include offering your underutilized space as supply for our Space Match program. So this program provides space for one agency's employees to actually sit in another agency's assigned occupancy. As I mentioned earlier, we've definitely seen significant number of requests for space sharing. And typically those requests are coming in at 5 people or less. And again, this is obviously due to return to office mandates and other policies that I know we're all familiar with right now. So the reason the Space Match program is beneficial to you is because it does improve the occupancy and utilization of your current space. It also obviously helps with lowering your own rental expenses and maintaining your current space until, you know, your long-term plans are finalized. And I'm just, you know, as of Monday, when we're prepping for this, there's been 414 finalized space matches. And 168 of those actually have happened within the last just 3 to 4 months, which I think kind of just shows you where folks are kind of landing today. They're just now sort of getting grounded, realizing what their need is, what the supply is. And the supply has been a big part of it. And so if you all have availability in your space and would like to share or offer up that space to other agencies, please get in touch with us so we can help facilitate this. Let's go to the next slide. Thank you. So our other solution that we want to talk about today is our commercial co-working contract. So this is a temporary on-demand contract for workspaces as a service. So currently on our current contract, we only offer workstations and private offices. In the future, we are looking to expand this offering into other space types. But for right now, again, it only offers open workstations and private offices. So the way that this contract works is we would take your individual requirement. So you would tell us, you know, the city, the number of employees that you're looking for, and then the type of space, again, whether it's that open workstation or maybe a private office. So we would take those requirements and then compete it across the vendors. Now, pending the location and the amount definitely dictates the results and the pricing that we would receive back. We have been able to place those several folks, and this has been a great, again, on-demand solution. So agencies would pay GSA via RWA to use this vehicle. And again, it is only a temporary solution where folks can be seated in these spaces for up to 12 months at a time. So if you are interested in using this program and you think it could serve some of your more short-term needs, please talk to your agency's program or real estate office, and they would be the ones that we would work with. And I did provide Patrick is the core for this program for us. They would get in touch with Patrick and we would start getting those requirements together. All right, let's go to the one more poll question here. You know, I think the bottom line around shared spaces, we just really want agencies to remain flexible with how they are using space. And again, the goal here is just for us all to continue to be smart and look for ideas on ways that we can really save those real estate costs. I know I mentioned what our current shared space contracts look like. However, we are already working on the next iteration of our commercial co-working contract. And I would love to get an idea from you all in terms of what spaces would be beneficial for you. So this one's a little bit more advanced. It requires a little bit of a rank, if you will. So again, we're looking to see based off of these 4 options, ranking how beneficial they would be to you all. And then again, if there are certain spaces that are not listed here, please let us know in the chat box what shared spaces would be beneficial to you all. Thank you so much. And yeah, Jonna, back to you to close this up.
Thank you, Lisa. Did we actually get the poll results?
There we go.
Oh, I had a quick view of it. Well, while she's getting the poll maybe not. As Casa's working through the technical problems there. Oh, now we have the results. Great.
Awesome.
I'm curious about the conference and meeting spaces. Is that like I would have expected that to be higher, but that's why we need your feedback in this process. Go ahead and go to the next slide. We wanted to focus today on basically the tools that are available to you now, what we have available immediately. If you gave us a call, we can help you with your planning or your delivery of your projects. But I do want to, before we leave, just talk a little bit about the future. If you can go ahead and go to the next slide. There we go. Okay, my screen is blocked there. Yeah, so we know we have a lot more work to do with shared spaces. Like I said, the demand over the last year and even before the last year has been high, and agencies have been willing to partner with me and GSA to test things like co-working. The feedback from that was really amazing all the way around, both users and leadership. So we intend to move forward with that and other offerings to you. Like Lisa said, we're working on a new contract and trying to refine, even like Mr. Gardner was asking for, just special spaces designed for people with similar needs. So looking forward to hearing from you as well. And the implementation of Fast Track, I think, is one of those programs that will absolutely speed up your project timeline and the process that you have in planning. So something to look forward to there. And again, the workplace prioritization at 18 and F, can't wait to see how that comes out. And we'll be learning a lot that we'll be passing on to you through that program. And of course, just like everybody else in the world, we're leaning into AI to try to create more efficiencies in our offerings. And we'll be talking to you in a separate session about that as well. So we really look forward to spending more time with you and hearing from you specifically, both by email. You can go ahead and go to the next slide. Oh, actually, the email is at the bottom of that slide. So it's very simple, workplace@gsa.gov. So you can contact us there or individually. And we really aspire to build these offerings with as much input from each customer as we can get to make sure we hit that mark. So with that, thank you so much for your time. If there's questions that we haven't gotten to during the session, we'll certainly follow up with you. Thank you. And we'll be talking to you soon. Have a great afternoon, everyone.
All right. Well, thanks for that presentation, and sorry for the polling questions. Sometimes they have a mind of their own, but that's okay. John, was there anything else before I close this out? Any parting thoughts?
No, again, just appreciate everyone's time, and yeah, look forward to seeing them again.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank Jonna, Sam, Ryan, and Lisa for a great presentation. I also want to thank all of you, our clients, for joining us. We've had some interaction in the Q&A pod, and those questions, if we weren't able to answer those in live time, we will definitely put together a FAQ document and send those out to our participants. So appreciate those questions. Those will be posted on our gsa.gov/CES site. Join us for our next month of webinars for eReader Digest, a very popular webinar that we do get hundreds and hundreds of folks join regularly for those eReader Digest. So we do appreciate those. That'll be Tuesday, April 28th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And you can register on our CES website or by clicking on the link in the email when you receive after this session. And also stay tuned for the upcoming CES sessions on leasing, our water quality management program, RWA policy and process, and we'll be getting those out there shortly and letting you know when those are available. The goal of the Client Enrichment Series is to engage our audience in workplace topics such as today's webinar that contribute to your mission success and to the effectiveness of your management of your real estate and workplace programs. Thank you again and have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care.